Yay, we're live, Charlotte. Hello, everybody. I'm Sherry Reichert-Ballou, and I'm here with Charlotte Ferruex, who is a high-performance coach and a coach of many other things, and one of the most wonderful, extraordinary, positive people I know. And so, Charlotte, that's why I wanted to get on a Facebook Live with you, right? Yeah. That, I realized this week, can you hear me okay? I'm hearing a little echo from myself, but I realized this week that I know so many amazing coaches, and that what the world really needs right now is just as much positivity as possible. And so, Charlotte, I just want to know, how are you taking care of yourself right now? You're a coach, but how are you taking care of yourself?
Oh my gosh, what a great question. Definitely been at the forefront of my mind every single day. So I was sharing with you just before we hopped on that I've just come actually up a span of a lot of travel, like back to back to back travel, some international, some in the US, some in Canada. And it was literally like one after the other. It all went extremely well, but I felt when I came back into Canada on Saturday morning, even though nothing was said like you have to do this or you have to do that, I just felt I needed to just take certain precautions and just really limit myself and my space, because I had been traveling a lot. And although I feel absolutely fantastic, you just never can be too safe, right? So,
Yeah.
And a big part of it is, for me, it's interesting because outside of the sadness and the holding space for all the feelings that are going on right now, and the uncertainty and the just where everyone's at, not everyone, a lot of people are at in their mindset. For me, it's been a space of, okay, we're being offered this time where I feel like I'm grounded. Like I feel like I've been told, you need to go home, you need to go inwards, you need to reset, and you need to really look at the health habits that maybe have fallen off. So I've always been very protective of sleep and meditation and reflection and like my vitamins, my routines around that, but in and out a little bit with food and nutrition, in and out a little bit with my exercise routine, especially with travel. So it's like, okay, I'm granted the space now to bunker down and really get myself to my best, because that next level, it's a massive level of service and giving, even beyond what I was doing before. So yeah, I'm looking at it from a positive place, I guess.
Yeah. So I love what you're saying about, so interesting, about that groundedness, right? And the word grounded is interesting because I never heard it this way before, but it's like the parents, like, you're grounded.
Yeah, that's what I feel like.
But it's also, when I heard you say it, I also thought of grounded as in centered, as in planted.
Yeah.
And then to hear you talk about, the health and nutrition and meditation and all of these ways to really care for your overall health, there's such a groundedness to that can really serve all of us.
Yeah, I mean, there's a huge topic of, having ourselves spread too thin, and for each person it's completely different. So I can only look at it from my perspective, or, from the people that I coach and that I mentor in different ways. But I think it's also bringing us back to the core of like, but if you only focused your energy on just a few things, very similar to, what we get taught, then what would those few things be? And where do you need to cut, the fluff that really wasn't getting you? Not because sometimes we do things and we say yes to things and it's aligned. It still is aligned and it still feels really good and there's still a really great outcome, but it's still playing small. And so you keep saying yes to all these little things that are around you because you're like, it feels good. It's not like you're doing something that's compromising your values. But then you say yes to too many little things, and then you've got no room for maybe potentially that bigger thing that really is stretching you to get you to that next stage in life. So I think this is also a process of cutting the fat per se, like cutting the, the fluff, and really being like, and I'm just going to trust that I'm going to step into a space that allows me to like feel uncomfortable, be stretched, and where I can really take things to the next level.
Wow. Wow. I want to say hi to Gail. Hello, Gail. Yeah. And I think, I just got off another call where people were talking about how so many of us can get caught in that go, 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 do, 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 do. I am what I do. I am what I check off a list. And I think what you're pointing to is one of my big hopes that might be a bright spot in so much loss and hardship right now, but is that reflection time, that in itself, I know can be a really difficult thing.
Yeah.
But what you're saying is, what if we had the opportunity to slow down enough to really look at where am I saying yes? Where have I been saying yes all over the place in my life that maybe is now no longer appropriate or not serving me or not serving the world? Maybe this is a time for that.
Yeah.
Oh, hi, Anthony. Good to see you. Yeah.
So
How
good.
are you caring for yourself on an emotional level?
Space and reflection. So I've been going through a process now, and not everyone's maybe at this stage in the game or is comfortable with, some of these things, but I want to feel it. I don't want to skip through and just go to the thing that makes me feel better.
Yeah.
So consciously for the last year and a half, I've been sitting in the in whatever feelings coming up. I'm making sure I sit in it and I feel it and I find myself through that. So, I say that obviously always with caution, because not everyone is maybe at a place. There's been lots of building stones to get me to that stage, and I have tools and techniques, and I can catch myself in terms of coaching myself really in that inner language. And I can catch the dialogue really quickly when I'm going down a rabbit hole, maybe that isn't serving me at all. Right. So I let myself sit in it a little bit, knowing, and I put things in a cap, like, okay, this is what I'm feeling now. I know that we figure it out. I know that we move through things. I know that, one of my belief systems is that, where our growth happens is in the hard times, is when we're met with uncertainty. When we can navigate in the hardest, most uncertain times with things that got thrown at us that we absolutely did not predict nor expect, that's growth like you can never believe when you take that step and you land where you land, but in a strong mindset and in the most positive place that you can, having learned the things that you needed to learn.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah. And I want to ask you this next question, because I do know you, and I know that, you're a high performance coach. You've not only been doing all of these practices for yourself, but coaching people for a long time. And there are a lot of people who are really going to immediately understand what you say about the growth piece. And then I suspect that there's a lot of people who are just like, what? Like I'm scared out of my mind right now, And so how would you respond to that? Like, to people who are just in that, like, people are so scared right now. I mean, I'm not sure if it's reached where you live, but I'm in San Francisco. The shelves are empty. People are fearful of running out of food. We're locked down in our homes. Yeah. How would you respond to people who are scared?
Yeah, absolutely. This has been a huge topic. I was just on a call this morning and we were sharing about this. I mean, listen, there's you can either go down the rabbit hole of completely fear, panic, right? That would be very easy for us to all do. And just like anything else, it takes work to go the other way. Like, people who are positive, they're not just waking up this way every single day, right? It's a constant, consistent, intentional choice of reframing the things that are happening so that we can see some light within it, right?
Yeah.
And so depending on the person too, obviously I would coach each person differently depending on what they were going through, what their circumstance was, what their situation was. But helping people reframe situations, and reframing is, you're seeing it this way, and then I say something or ask you questions so that you can shift how you see the situation, so
Yeah.
that then it becomes more of a, this is where I can control. This is how it could be more of a positive thing. This is the light at the end of the tunnel. I think that's the most essential skill right now, is to help people shift out of the thinking that is really fear-based, right?
Wow.
Yeah.
I love what you're saying about reframing, maybe being one of the most important things we can be doing right now.
Hmm.
Because as soon as you said that, I was thinking, and I'm going to weave in a little bit back to the health part, but
Yeah.
it's like I was thinking about how stressful it is to be panicked, how
Yeah.
stressful it is to be in scarcity, how stressful, and how all of that impacts our immune system, right?
Yes.
Right.
Thank you. Yes. I was just
So
gonna say that.
when you're talking about reframe, I'm thinking again, I just got off a call with a whole wonderful group of people who wanted to be on a call to find ways to look at the light, right? That's sort of how we framed the call. Like where's the light right now? And I think that's what it is. It's a sort of like, how do we turn our attention right now? You know, what are all the kindnesses we're seeing in the world? How are we, what's happening with the time we're spending with our family, or, the way that we're suddenly feeling so much more connected to people,
Yeah.
things like that. Is that kind of where you're going with the reframing?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's so much that we can't control. And, that's usually where people get stuck, is they feel absolutely out of control, really vulnerable. They don't know what to do next. And by reframing and by bringing it into specifics of, but what can you do? We
Yeah.
know all the things that we cannot do, but these here are the things that we can control. And this is what we can do. Like when we're in full, responsibility in terms of like, being at cause or whatnot, it's like, I own the choices that I'm making. I can control the things that I can control. And that part of the mindset, usually, I'm gonna say usually, is what most people can, when they're using the right tools and they have the right person or process that's guiding that, shift their thoughts. And for me, the other part too is, I've made sure over the course of the last, for a few years, I've changed some of my belief systems. The ones that didn't work for me, that
Uh,
didn't bring me to a more joyful, a more free place, a more, successful place, a more positive place. I dumped those, and I stepped into new belief systems, like, just, I mean, it could be around anything, but I truly believe there's purpose to everything. So that's a belief system that I have. So if there's purpose through everything, that means the good and the bad, that means the light and the dark. And that means that when things get thrown at me that really feel awful, and I go back to resorting from like maybe my old defense mechanism, I can say, okay, no, because there's purpose to everything, because that's my belief system. And so now I might search for, well, then what would be the purpose of this horrible thing that we're going through? And what could I do to feel like I'm in positive control with the things that I can? And for me, I love to give, I love to help, I love to share. So when I'm in that space, it makes things better. And yeah, and then the other part is that my big word, and this goes back to maybe emotional slash spiritual
yeah. Yeah.
support habits, is,
Yeah.
well, if I have said that trust is like I want to trust, not just trust, but like trust, then I need to trust that everything is working the way that it's meant to work. We're getting handed this for a reason. I need to
Uh,
trust my ability. I need to trust that, like, my dad's in Mexico right now. They canceled all flights. Our government said, hey, we're going to help everyone get back. I need to trust that
yeah.
whether he's caught there or he gets home, whatever's meant to be is meant to be. And I need to kind of like lift my hands to that and not be in fear and just trust that process. Right. So,
Wow.
yeah.
Yeah. Charlotte, I really love what you're saying about, it sounds like you did some deep looking, and to see like where, like you said, like where are some of the beliefs that aren't serving me?
Mm.
And then, really taking that and looking at like, what do I want to believe? And
Mm.
then once you had those things, it's that next step of, okay, now the rubber hits the road. How do I actually make sure that I'm staying aligned with these beliefs.
Yeah.
And that's really big, and I think it circles back to, where I feel like I keep coming back to, which is, as hard as it might be, this is a time of reflection, and I think in whatever that way that is for people, or however that's going to happen, but to be able to look at things in that way, it feels essential to me. Yeah.
It's a reset in a lot of ways, and it's not one in a way that we wanted to, but we seem to, as human beings, learn the hard way. And it's, and whatever comes from that, comes from it. And if anything, what I'm loving that I'm seeing outside of the whole toilet paper thing is, is of real collaboration. Do you know what I mean? And learning, as much as we make jokes, but when people are in a place where they're fearful, they're making very reactive fear-based decision. They're not making conscious, I'm just going to go and do these things. They're in a defense mechanism of being scared and of scarcity. And so to expect people to make really rational decisions when this is what they're getting pumped through, is not a realistic expectation to have. What we can do is role model. What we can do is challenge in a really nice way. What I've seen sometimes that kind of actually hits my heart the other way is the shaming that's happening when you see somebody with too many groceries, or you see some, like, you can see it on both ends, the prejudgments on one, the prejudgments on the other. None of it's right. It's not one way is better than the other way, right? So it's interesting, I think just if this opens up our heart so much more and has us look at the world like as a world we need to connect.
Yes.
Then that's what's happening, and it's going to be for good. And again, that's my belief system.
Yeah.
Not imposing that on anybody that's listening in, right?
Yeah. No, I totally get that. I love that, and I just have to say, like, I think for me that's a big piece of this too, is really, it's going from that me to we place that, that can sound all woo woo and, but I think that's really what's happening is, and I think you're right. Like, when I'm scared, I know this for myself, when I'm scared, I'm in scarcity. It's, I'm focused on this one human being. When I can move to a place of love and, a bigger, wider perspective, and look around that we're all in this together, then, not that sense of scarcity goes away entirely, but it shifts so much.
Yeah.
It shifts. It's like, oh, here we all are, how are we going to navigate this together?
Yeah.
Together.
Yeah.
And, that's why I'm so grateful, to be in this community of high performance coaches who are people who have been doing this work for many years of, maybe it wasn't ever this scale of a worldwide, pandemic, but, we can't ever like belittle even, any small transformation or growth that we've all had to go through. Right. Yeah.
The journey.
Yeah.
It's going to be the last one, guys. So put a playbook together. But again, like, that's why I love you go online. So I'm very careful. I look for certain facts and then I close it down. Right. So I don't want to be ignorant in what's going on, but I'm not following all the, I'm definitely not listening to the news all day long either. You have to be careful of what you absorb in. Facts. Awesome. Got it. I know how to be safe. I know what to do. But then it's like, yeah, you have to really protect your ground, right? And I think that's that contrast of we see really serious posts and then really funny ones.
Yeah.
Make you laugh because, like, laughter, like, we need it. Love and laughter, like the singing in Italy off the balconies and the DJs that I just like, bring me a DJ. Let's all dance.
Right? Why did that? I mean, that went viral like that, right? Yeah. Because we need that too.
We need it.
I think, and it's one of the reasons I said this to you before we came on live, but it's one of the reasons I'm so happy that you're the first coach that I'm talking to. And because Charlotte, it's like, you're still bringing the joy.
Mm.
And it's not that you're not seeing the seriousness in this,
No.
or that you're not, taking it seriously. Because I think this is another one of those places, right?
Yeah.
It's like, but we can't, again, back to the singing on the balcony. I think it's part of the human spirit that no matter what's happening, we need to find the light, the joy, the laughter. We just do.
Yeah.
Because it also, and I keep thinking about this too, I keep thinking about our immune systems and laughter, right?
So good.
It's so good.
Moves energy out. Like the laughter, it's kind of like when you're in a yoga class and, when I'm bringing somebody through Shavasana and at the end we sit up and we do our ohms, we chant our ohms, not because we just want to say om out loud, it's because the vibration inside your body helps move energy out and opens you up.
Wow.
These are beautiful, simple tools. Maybe we all should be chanting om off the balcony, and I might do that later. So
I love that.
a rolling om all the way through.
And Charlotte, I really want to underscore what you're saying about movement.
Yeah.
Because here's the other thing, there's this term hunker down, right? Hunker down. And I've also heard the term Netflix a lot, right? Hunker down. What food do I have and what movies do I have?
Yeah.
But actually, that's not, not that there's anything wrong with that. And we can all do that to some extent, but I don't think the point of this is that we're all like under a blanket on our couch for the next however long.
Yeah.
I think you're right about what is it? Gosh, I'm just thinking even like what moves you,
Dance. Put on some music. Dance in your living room. Like, do yoga. Do you know how many people, and even the studio that I work for, like they shifted to online, right? So they're offering free classes, like Lululemon's doing phenomenal, like free online classes so that there's no excuse, people, unless you're the one who's actually sick right now. Like we have access to for a lot of the things that we need, depending on where you're at and the situation that you're in. But I think that's the generosity of the spirit right now.
Oh, right.
We're given, like so many people are sharing their tools with people.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
I just want to read what Nancy just wrote. She said, absorb the facts and protect the boundaries.
Yes.
Love and laughter. I love that. Love and compassion for those consumed by fear. That's so beautiful. Yeah. And yes, and of course, again, I don't want to disrespect anybody who is sick right now or not able to do these things. But just as a reminder to those of us who are so fortunate to be healthy at this moment, that you're right. Like I just saw that the local dance studio has put dance class online. Like how you're right, the generosity right now of, especially the generosity that I'm seeing of people who have, really healthy things that are going to support us.
Yeah.
It's amazing. It's really amazing.
And what you said about the immune system, I've had that in my head for so long that it really helped me with the situation, which is I can't allow myself to go down that side because then you're exposing yourself to attract and your immune system becomes so weakened. That's why our thoughts matter. This is why I do the work that I do, because it matters for us to step in. Like you're going to have to choose which side of the equation you want to be in. Wow. And that choice is essential to being at cause with how this is going to go for you. And I say that with complete openness. I have 2 older parents. My mom is very vulnerable to getting sick. And we talk about that,
Yeah.
I'm not saying this with like any kind of laxy-daisyness that like my mom could get sick. She could be one that maybe wouldn't get support. We only have a certain amount of beds here. Do you know what I mean? Like, again, it's not, we all have our situations that we are in and we can't control that side of it, but I'm going to choose to control the side that I can choose. And really, just like anything else, this is part of my legacy. This has been given to me in this way to show my kids resiliency through these situations. And And I'm also very mindful that as much as, like, even with myself yesterday, how much emotions really are at the surface. So even though I'm using lots of tools, I found myself like mad about a choice that my parents made, right? And I was like mad. Like I was like, because I'm like, I would do it differently. Like, because of the worry and the fear. And it was right there. So it, the tools are only part of it, but it's the like constant resetting and the like having to ground yourself and take your breath, deep breathing, you know,
Oh,
smooth out you know, your nervous system. And
yeah.
so important. And they're simple things.
Charlotte, I just want to echo. It really struck me when you said, about the choice.
Mm,
Because people who know me, know my story, I am just prone to the dark side, right? So it has been, this has been my lifelong, like, where's the light? I gotta find a moment of light. And this morning, I had set up several things like to support other people. And this morning I woke up and I was like, I just want to, I just want to curl under the blankets. I want to hide. I don't want to have to show up. And I could see, exactly what you're talking about, though, that moment of like, who do you want to be? What? And I know it well enough because thankfully not recently, but many years ago, I went down that path all the time into the darkness,
mm,
right? I mean, one thing leads to another, right? The immobility that I can't get off the couch, I can't do anything, I hate everything, I hate myself, right?
spiral.
It just spirals, right? And so fortunately I know that, but it's like there is always that moment of, you know, what am I choosing?
Mm,
Whether it's our thoughts or what we're going to put into our bodies to nourish us, or whether we're going to take that walk or do the yoga class versus, skip it today. Like each of those choices.
so
Yeah.
important.
Yeah. Wow. What are you seeing or hearing from your coaching clients? Is there a shift in the way you're working with them?
Well, yes, a little bit, but I've been in a pivot point for a bit now, so that's not new to like this experience, but I can say it's been very interesting watching some of my clients really kind of be like, my model doesn't work for me. Like, this doesn't bring me freedom now. Like, I need to significantly shift how I'm operating. So for some people, it's kind of giving them a little shake of like, if I said that freedom means this to me 5 years, 10 years, 20 years down the road, will my model actually get me there if I continue doing what I'm doing, continue being how I'm being, and continue feeling how I'm feeling? Maybe, maybe not. So it's been interesting. I've gotten a couple messages of like, I think I keep saying, yes to things that, yes, keep me busy, but are keeping me small. So, or I'm doing too much, in terms of brick and mortar.
Right.
I need to shift more and have a more flexible and adaptable system. And I've always said, for me, it, part of the like why I feel success within the model of my work is because my skill set has allowed me to do online work, to coach in person. I can do consulting. I can go work for organizations. I can work my model and the way that I coach and the way that I do consulting in any modality that's there.
Uh-huh.
And so it's been great to see for other people just like, I think something needs to change now. And I think people are getting a wake-up call, which we need. We need sometimes that like that shake to say like, but is this working for you? Like, are you too comfortable right now? Like, what's it going to take now to take the step that you said that you wanted to, but you just haven't done it?
Wow, Charlotte. So are you saying that even like in the midst of this, this worldwide crisis, that people are still able to, they're focusing on next year, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years?
Yeah.
Yeah. Can you say a little more about that? Because
Yeah.
I think this is really important. How do we do that? Yeah. How do we, in the midst of a crisis?
And it might be who I attract, you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I'm in conversations and my clients are people who, I feel like, yes, are scared. Like we all have that fear, but they're not in reaction. And maybe that's the tools and trainings of all the things that have been given up until this point. And that's why we always say that, like, get the tools proactively, right? So,
Yeah.
because this is why we need them. And so, I would say that the majority of my clients, I mean, they proactively got tools. They proactively invested in themselves. They proactively, circled themselves with the right people, so that that's just something that can help them in
Yeah.
this next phase. And so the dialogue does become different, and just on my call this morning, it was half a little bit about like where things at now. And the other half was possibility and opportunity, because there's
Yeah.
fantastic opportunity now as well.
Wow.
But we
Yeah.
choose to look at it like that. I could be in a different conversation with somebody and they would not be open to that at all. And I would pick and choose whether or not I would open up that part of the dialogue depending on where that person's at. And that's okay too.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know?
And I love this because I've been listening to Brendan a lot,
Yeah.
our who we're certified by. And Brendan's been talking a lot about yes, this is a time when people really desperately need comfort, right? They need to be doing arts and crafts and whatever's going to bring them comfort. And really, what he's looking at is how do we use this as a time to learn?
Yeah.
How do we use this time to what's going to be next for us, and how do we prepare for it, and who do we want to be, and what skills do we need, and I know that can be even as I'm saying it, I'm thinking, sometimes when you're in survival mode, it's really hard to be thinking in those terms. And yet sometimes when we're in survival mode, that's exactly when I think we do need to be thinking of those things, because hopefully there's a what's next.
Yeah. Hopefully there's going to be a what's next.
Right.
And I want to believe that. Do you know what I mean? So I say that with the belief system again. That's my belief system, that I'm not letting myself go down any other place. This is going to be a hard couple. I don't know how long the trajectory will be. And I'm okay. Like I'm going to be okay with that.
Yeah.
Whatever that brings me.
Yeah. And I think this does go back to, what we're always talking about, mindset. But for me too, like it makes me happy to believe that there is a what's next for all of us. It makes me happy to believe that something is going to come from all of this that's going to connect all of us as humans in a brand new, beautiful way. I want to believe that. And that serves me to think that way, and if I'm operating in that way, it's going to also keep me focused on, okay, well, how can I serve in a way that's going to bring people together, that's going to help bring more light into the world, help bring more love in the world? How do I do that? And that naturally is going to make me feel healthier and happier in the moment, and that's going to be different for everyone.
Yeah.
But what we believe becomes our reality. So that's why it's so important not to just think that what your thoughts are is just who you are, to start to observe how you think and be like, was I given that belief system? Did that come through me from a generational capacity? Does that work for me? Does that make me feel any better right now? Because if I'm not feeling better, that means I'm feeling worse, which means my health is compromised, which means that everything's going to be bad.
Wow.
So that's the importance. It's not the hokey pokey, let's just be positive. You know what I mean? It's no, because that's going to be the difference between one person sitting on one side and the other person seeing full, beautiful opportunity and abundance really showing up for them because of the actions that they're taking, especially when it has to do with what's going on inside their conscious and subconscious mind.
Wow. I just wanted to say hi to everybody. I don't know if you can see, but there's some people joining us. And I just wanted to say hi to Pam and Carla and Lisa. And hello. Hi. Yes. And I just want to breathe for a minute back to that whole thing, because I think I'm just really just feeling that, I think in some ways too, which I didn't realize until we're having this conversation, but I kind of have some guilt over, even over wanting to feel positive right now, or even over wanting, like we were talking earlier about, like wanting to laugh or wanting to find the moments of joy. And I just, do you have like any of that, like that idea?
Oh, yeah. But I also think that this fear of being judged for just feeling the things that we need to feel, or feeling like that we need to be super strong and have it all together. But isn't the point of all of this, I don't just mean this situation, I mean in life, that we learn how to be more open, more authentic, and more vulnerable?
Yeah.
And so if that's the case, if I need to laugh, I'm going to laugh. And if somebody judges me for it, I guess I'm going to have to, that's just going to be something that comes up. But for us to have to hold back and really think through every single emotion that we have, again, us being still respectful, like if you're laughing when somebody, like we're not talking about situations that are, rude or whatever.
Right.
But like, we shouldn't have to feel guilty, and we're within the closed space of our homes.
Yeah.
And somebody needs it. It's no different than if we weren't in this situation. We were talking about building our businesses. There's certain people that are going to judge you for it, and there's going to be certain people that really needed to hear that message. There's someone who's going to see the post about joy and laughing, and it's going to be like, why are they laughing? I just lost somebody.
Right.
But there's going to be somebody else that sees and is like, I just needed that so badly.
Wow.
So you got to just choose what's authentic to you and just feel it and do it, and know that it's coming from a beautiful, kind, and well-intentioned place.
Oh, Charlotte.
Yeah.
That was so beautiful. So beautiful that I want to try and reflect it, because I think that it is so important that it's like people are going to be going through a whole range of everything right now. We all are. We all know it. It might happen to each of us within the course of a day. We're going through a whole range of things. But to really allow ourselves to accept what's going on and to speak authentically about it, no matter where we are, and to trust that as a global community, that we need everybody, right? We need all of it. We need everyone to be exactly who they are within this, so that, like you just said, because what one person says is going to be exactly what somebody else needs to hear, and it might not be what that other person needed. But yeah.
And take it one step further and say that we also need to see the crappy situations. And I don't mean the ones that you and I would choose, but like, sometimes we see other people do things and it brings up a judgment within us, right? How could they do that? Or, oh my gosh, can you even believe, like, I'm sure if we were all honest right now, we've had a plethora of different judgments that have come up. But we need to see that too, because that also, like, everything is a contrast in life, right? It's a universal law. And so you need to see the dark, to see the light, to make a choice of which side you're going to be on. You need to, like, there's polarity with everything in life. So we need some of those situations where it hits us and we get angry to know where we stand with something. And then I would take one step further and say, now, can you still find compassion in that?
Yes, I love that, because as you're talking, I'm thinking the story that, again, another viral story, right? That poor, God bless him, man who hoarded all this hand sanitizer, right? Like, I don't know I don't know how much he had, right? Get the story of the New York Times. I loved that story for so many reasons, because, there were all these shades of gray.
Yeah.
If we all are really, and I love this, what you're asking, if we're all really honest, like, first of all, we live in a capitalistic country. Most of us have been trained to try and take advantage of how, when there's a demand, how can we meet it?
Mm-hmm.
Right? So, you think, oh, maybe it came from that place. And even if it came from a complete place of greed, I know places of greed, right? I know that place in myself. Thank God I haven't done it in the way that the New York Times has, like, made a huge article out of it. But, and then to see the judgment, like you're talking about, like to watch myself, like, be judgmental, holier than thou. Like, that story, I think, brought an opportunity for us to see how we're kind of, if we look closely, I think most of us know each place on the spectrum.
We're being mirrored parts of ourselves. Right. Sometimes we also don't like,
Yeah.
And that's okay. Or we're being mirrored situations that we need to learn something through, and that's okay too, right? So, but yeah, it's interesting, the
Yeah,
behavior that comes
I
all
know.
types of situations. But it's just coming to light the things that have always been happening. It's a microscope right now, literally, because it's on everyone's, like, so close to the layer of your skin. It's not deep down, it's like we're all very sensitive right now. So, it, and I mean, rightfully so, a lot of us are also taking on the sadness for other people and
Yeah.
holding space in that way. Like, at the end of you, back to your question at the beginning, one thing that I do, I cleanse myself, I cleanse my space. I cut, you know, I do a lot of work with people. So I need to, like, this is yours. You keep that. This is mine. I keep this. And some people might be like, oh, that's woo woo. But when you've been doing it long enough and you realize, like, I absorb people's energy and I feel a lot of stuff. Right. So I have to make sure I'm, like, cleansed and clear at the end of a day. So
Yeah, Charlotte, I really love that. Like, no matter how anybody feels about that, whether they
totally.
think it's woo or whatever, I mean, there is something. Who was it? Oh, Nancy, who mentioned boundaries. I think there's something really important in what you're just saying about taking care of ourselves by keeping what is ours and having compassion. Having compassion and being able to be there for other people, but also not. This could be a time where, yeah, we could take on a lot of various kinds of really hard things that will weigh us down, and maybe just being mindful of that.
And watch your kids, because kids don't understand what they're absorbing. And I caught I have to be, I'm very open to that. So it's a conversation me and my kids have, but they're feeling anxiety right now. And depending on what conversations they're exposed to, they're hearing a lot of anxiety right now. And that does shape their experience with how this is going to go. So a big part of accountability for me, it's not just being like this just because. I obviously like to role model for people, and I want to have this experience. I don't want to have the other experience, right? And then the other part is that it's my kids are going to take on what I provide them. I can't control every other space that they're in,
Right.
but I can control my space that they're
right. Right.
Yeah.
Wow. Oh, that's so powerful. It's such a good reminder.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's we're all, I think, whether we pay attention or not, like, in tune with energy, right? I think we feel, but children especially, they really feel it. I'm glad you brought that up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And for anyone who's like, I don't get what they're talking about, I'm sure you've been in a room before where no words are spoken, but you can feel that someone's upset. So that's what we're talking about. Do you know what I mean? Everything is energy. Do you know what I mean? There's a vibration to everything. And it's either a high positive vibration or it's a really low, not positive vibration. And so that's what they're absorbing. They don't know why they're absorbing what they're absorbing, right? So it's they feel a lot of stuff, and some kids more than others, like adults. But if you're noticing that they're acting differently, or maybe just ask some more questions. Like, for me, I always talk to my kids at night right before bed. That's when they really open up and are vulnerable. But I just keep that in mind, because they've got the weight of the world on their shoulders too, even if they're not part of the dialogue as much as we are.
Ah, what a beautiful reminder. Charlotte, I just realized I told you we were going to talk for 20 minutes.
Oh, good. I had a feeling.
I'm like, oh no.
We're notorious for this.
I know. It's so great. But listen, so I know we have to hop off, but I'm just curious, is there anything we haven't talked about that feels like something really important that you want to share right now?
Oh gosh. I think it's just really important that everyone listens to what their bodies are telling them. So for me, when something's coming up and it's in my head and it's fear-based and it's like, it feels heavy, it comes like top down, communication, right, inside of me, I know not to listen to that so much, but explore the voice that just sounds neutral. It's very soft, it's very kind, and it is the one that's probably guiding you in terms of what you actually need in these next
Wow.
couple of weeks. Start to listen and pay attention to that. And maybe it's going to say, you know what? You've been running too hard. Do sit on that couch for 3 days.
Right.
Do watch some movies and eat popcorn and have a glass of wine. But just listen to what your body is telling you from, I say from down, up through the heart, and what I would say like out through the throat. So it comes up like through here. If it's coming from here, I'm a little mindful, you know?
Yeah.
Feel it, like have a better connection with yourself. And you'll see that a lot of answers come to you. A lot more clarity will come up as long as it's not coming from a fear-based place.
Oh,
Yeah.
Charlotte, I love that. And I just want to build on top of that. What I love so much, there's so many things about this conversation, but that thing of just really respecting them. Like, so like you're saying, paying attention, what is true, you know, and really getting that from the right place, not the fear place, but what is true for me right now. And then honoring and accepting, and dare I say, celebrating that, you know, like, you know, I really still feel, you know, I have a phrase, celebrating in the dark, you know, it's like, it's tough, it's difficult, there are hard times, but how do we, you know, how do we really truly like celebrate who we are? And I think you really gave me that gift today of reminding me of that.
Okay.
Yeah.
And this was meant to be, and if only for that purpose.
I love you so much. Thank you, Charlotte.
Too.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone out there.
Bye, you guys.
Stay
Thanks
safe.
for being here.